Good morning, everybody. We're going to make some little heart pillows or pincushions. You can make these any size you want by however big you draw your heart. We're going to hand draw a heart. You might want to, if you want to make it so it's like an accent pillow on your couch, just use a full size 8.5 by 11 piece of paper to make the larger. And I'll show you that. All right, so I'm going to show how to do the heart. I had some comments in the chat when I was talking about doing this that they couldn't draw a heart. Hang on just a sec. I'm going to close the door over here. Sorry about that, guys. Scott's trying to watch a program on trains, and I thought it would be polite to close the door. Let me show you how to do a heart that's a perfect heart every time, so you're not hand drawing it. If you feel comfortable hand drawing, please feel free to do that. I'm going to fold the paper. This is for a couch size. But we're not going to do couch size. We're going to do a pincushion size. And I need to turn this autofocus off because it's already driving me bonkers. That iron's on, Tippy. You're going to get burned. Go on. The cat's driving me crazy already. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second. No, Tip. Go lay down. Go somewhere else and lay down. All right. So take your 8.5 by 11 and fold it along the 11 side. Let's see, which way do I need to go? Here we go. Go ahead and fold it like this. All right. So we're going to do half of a heart and then we'll cut it out. Okay. Find something round that would make a good size heart shape this way. Hang on just a sec. I had something. This is about the size of a Crisco shortening can. Just line it up close to the top of your paper. And let me turn it. Here's the fold right here. Here's the fold. I'm going to lay this so that it's just on the paper up here and then just on the paper on this other side. So here and here, the can is just touching. So take your pencil and just trace around it. Okay? There you go. Now get you a straight edge. And just line it up down here at this side. This is going to be a nice fat heart here. And pick a place along here, however you want your heart. Just visualize when you and draw a line. All right. Now you can fiddle with it a little bit as you cut it out. And then just cut along the top part. I think I'm going to angle mine a little bit in from the edge. See how I added a little bit back over about a 1/4 inch? And then just do a curve motion to connect to your line and then follow the line. Okay. Then when you open it, you'll get a heart. See? Like that. So this would be like a tiny little accent pillow for on a couch. All right. So that's if you want to do it larger. So let me say good morning to everybody. Hi, Janet. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Mitz. Hi, Beth. Hi, Barb. Hi, Nancy. Is that everybody so far? Hi, AP. And attaché papers. You told me your name, and yep, gone. So good morning to all you gals coming in early. Thank you. All right, so let me show you how to do it for a smaller one. And the reason I chose this size, kind of like that size, is because I'm using this scrap as my back of my pillowcase. So I'm going to fold this one, so I'll get it even a more different shape because I want my stripes to go across the back of the pillow. And I got a can of soup. So you find something round that's about the same width of your paper folded in half. That would be a good way to say it. All right. And again, I'm going to go almost to the top, almost to the side, and just trace the circle. Tippy, you are going to get burned. That iron is on. Go on. All right. And then I'm going to go all the way to the edge on this one and then down. Okay. So it looks like that. There's the circle, and then I drew a line. And then I just start at the center of the heart and follow it around. See how I cut there? And then when I open it, it looks like that. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to iron my fabric real quick. I will eventually move the camera over here by the sewing machine in the iron. And then it'll be hard for me to see the chat after that, but we'll do the best we can. And this was just a scrap in my scrap bin. All right, so this tall, skinny one's going to go over here. And what you do is you go ahead and you cut the backs of your pillows. You cut your backing fabric first, because the patterns that you're using to cut the backs of them, you're going to use as a piecing base. We are going to sew strips. We're going to do strip piecing onto the paper base. Okay? Hi, Eva. So let me get some pins, and I'm going to pin these down and cut them out real quick. And then we'll move over to the sewing machine. And this side you can use as, if you wanted to, and give this to like your mom, an aunt, grandma, whatever. If you wanted to, you could fill it, instead of with like stuffing or anything, you could fill it with like lavender, and she could put it somewhere and it would smell pretty. But we're just going to use stuffing stuff. Polyfill, that's it. And I also have, if you don't have any polyfill, but you have fabric scraps, let me show you. When I'm working on a project like a quilt project or any sewing project, I put anything that's small into this great big bag, and this can be used as your filling. So if you wanted to, you can use it the size that it is, or you could take the time and cut it up into little pieces so it's more like a fiber fill. But you could use it just like this and shove it in. So we might use some of my fabric bits in one of these hearts and then polyfill in the other, just so you guys can see the difference the two make, or if it even makes a difference. Now I'm cutting fabric, so I'm going to grab some fabric shears. Maybe. Well, these are really good ones, so definitely don't want to mess these up with paper. Now, if you wanted to, you could cut about a 1/4 inch past to add a little seam allowance. So my hearts are going to end up even smaller than these because I don't have room to add a seam allowance. But if you added a 1/4 inch all the way around, your hearts would be exactly the size you're cutting out. But you would have to add that seam allowance. Okay, see now that could go in my, chop it up a little bit more, put it in our stuffing box. The larger pieces, I might put back in my, just my scraps for making tags with Anne. All right. Get these cut out and I'll look at chat and see if anybody has any questions so far. These scissors are Gingers and they work really good. So these I'm going to put back in my other scrap bag that I have over here that's larger scraps. All right. So like I said, these are your bags. These are Gingers. Gingher. They're really considered the primo fabric scissors in the United States. Beyond the pink door, she was showing some scissors that she's selling through her shop in Ireland that she orders out of Canada. So there's another brand of, I can't remember the brand that she was said, but they're made in Canada, Barb. You might want to go over to Beyond the Pink Door. I think it was her last Sunday live. She was talking about these scissors, and she gets out of Canada. So it might be something you could find locally for a lot less money, because I think she was charging $50 US or 50 euros for a pair of scissors. But she said they're very, very good, and they have all kinds of things that you can use. She had, I think it was a 9-inch scissor, and then one that was slightly longer. And then she also had some snips she was showing, but they were all made in Canada. All right, so give me a second. I'm going to move you guys over to the sewing machine. I'm trying to figure out how I can get the computer moved over there too. Whoop, whoop. Hi. Give me just a sec. You got to see my wild do. Got to get some legs on this thing here. I wish I had another camera that I could just switch to make this more smooth. But I don't, and the cat's going to get burned. Tippy, the iron is on. He wants to sit on the window. All right, sorry guys, bear with me just a sec. Camera operations. All right, let me grab my strips. I'm just going to put them kind of behind the machine over here. Move the iron up a little bit. Hopefully I won't burn myself on here. That would be not so good. All right, let me see where can I set you guys? Let me get a chair and I'll put you guys on a chair next to me. I tried to do all the prep stuff before I fell short on camera and setup once we moved to the machine. Scott and I got to talking about my parents and what's going on there. Okay, this ought to be interesting because I also have a mic attached. All right, okay. Y'all hold tight. I'm gonna move you. Hang on. Hold on. Here you go. Whee! You're going over the chair. Woo! And I almost dropped you on the floor. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to almost drop you on the floor. See, now I can look down and see the chat. Move the mic a little closer so you can hear me. Get my coffee, because you know, coffee. All right. Move the polyfill out of my chair so I can sit down. Let's see what you guys are seeing. All right. Set that on top of my sewing basket. Need to tip you guys up a little bit. Let's see. All right, so now you can see the iron, the hearts, the sewing machine. All right, who all else has come in? Thank you, Janet, for putting Andrea's link to the Beyond the Pink door. If you're in the UK or Ireland, she sells some beautiful fabrics on there. Weather is nuts. It's supposed to rain in a little bit. There's Nettie. Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. All right, so like I said, the backs, we're going to unpin these and set your back aside. I'm going to set my backs over on the computer. This pressing board is something Scott and I made. We bought a big sheet of plywood one year, and I cut, I think they're 12 by 12 squares of plywood, and then I wrapped quilt batting on them and then some canvas material, and it makes the perfect little side quilt board. All right. We'll set those aside. All right. You don't really need pins to do the next step unless you're uncertain about it. I'm going to work with one at a time. Well, I might work at them at the same time because then I could feed them through the machine one after the other. Now, Mary asked if you could do this by hand, and you can. It's just, it'll take you longer than I will speed through. But Mary, I think you'll get the gist of it if Mary's here. Did Mary come in? Did I miss her? Mary was asking about that. There she is. You can do it by hand, but it'll take you a little bit more time, and that's all. So these strips are kind of on the wrinkle side. So I'm just going to kind of iron it smooth here. This iron is really overkill. I need a small craft iron, and I thought I had one, but I can't find it. I might have lost it in the moving back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and iron out 4 random strips. All right, this will just get me started. So you take your paper heart, just grab one of them. It doesn't matter which one. And lay a piece of fabric down across it, like from one edge to the edge where it starts rounding. Then grab another piece like this. And my strips are 3/4 of an inch to an 1.25 inches. And if you wanted to save on your fabric bits, start with the start edge just a little off. Don't worry if it goes off up here. You just stop sewing when you get to the edge of the heart. Then take your second strip and put it face down on top of the strip you just did, like that. And here, if you wanted to, you could put a pin in it. Mary, you might want to use pins since you're hand stitching and it'll wiggle on you. I usually just start feeding it through the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and get a strip set pinned to each heart. All right, what we're going to do is along this edge up here, we're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the edge, which on most machines, that's, you just line the edge of your presser foot up with the edge of the fabric and stitch, okay? Your strips do not have to be the same size width-wise, because that's not going to matter. I might put this lighter color down first. All right, and then put this one down, right sides together. And it's like Janet said, if you don't want to do a heart, do a circle or do a square. Just do a little square. That might be easier for someone that's just starting to sew anyway. And you can make you a square pincushion. Hi, Peg. Hi, Melissa. And if you're not a big Valentine-y kind of person or you hate hearts, choose another shape. No biggie. I'm going to go ahead and stitch these. And I always keep a piece of fabric. It's like Lizzie was saying, it's a leader ender. I always keep a little piece of fabric to sew off onto if I'm not sewing to the next block. And the reason to do that is so that your needle doesn't come unthreaded on you. It really does save a lot of aggravation. All right, so excuse the sewing machine. Here we go. All right, I'm going to take this one. I'm just going to, the tails that are hanging off here, I'm just going to lift my presser foot. The needle is down in the fabric. I'm going to turn the piece that I'm coming out of to the side so that I sew off the side and I'm not sewing these two strips together anymore. All right. Then I'm going to line up my next two strips and I'm going to sew off the where I just was and onto this next heart, 1/4 inch from the edge. That one I got a little wonky, but I'm not going to worry about it. Get your leader ender piece of fabric that's stuck on the first heart. Cut it off. It's just a random piece of fabric. I was going to show the computer, but that won't help, will it? All right. Needle is down into the fabric. I'm going to turn this again, and I'm just going to sew off from the heart and onto my leader ender. I'm going to use my snips here and snip it away. Do not trim your fabric until you've pressed it. If I could get the thread to come loose. There's a thread catching. There we go. All right. Now, thank you guys. I'm going to move one heart out the way. So take and finger press the top fabric back. So you'll expose the right side of the fabric. Just gently, don't force it. Just gently press it with your fingers. If you start pulling on it, if your strip is on the bias, if you start pulling on it, it's going to warp it because you're pulling against the natural way the fabric goes, the weave is going. If you're on the bias, it's very stretchy across the bias of a fabric, okay? So you want to be extra careful and you're just kind of pressing down, not out and out that way. Then take your iron and just set it on there to set that seam. And now if you want to, you can trim some of this fabric away. I'm not sure where my other my Gingers scissors are, so I guess I'm using Gingers today. And I'm just going to roughly trim this away. I just chopped it like that. I need to get some more light over here. I don't know if that's helping or not, but we'll see. So now you've got a piece that looks like that. So let's get our other piece to look like that. Throw your strips you just cut off back into your strip pile. And again, carefully fold this back. If you trim it too soon, when you fold your fabric back, it may fall short of the edge on here. you may trim it back too far. Like, see, I almost didn't leave enough here to cover the side of the heart. So I have to keep that in mind as I'm going. And this is called strip piecing. I think I'm going to knock this down a little bit here. And I'm going to go ahead and trim some of this away. All right. And just grab another strip. It doesn't matter. Just randomly grab one. We'll put this on here. We'll finish going this way, and then we'll turn the heart and we'll go the other way, doing the exact same thing. And before you know it, especially if you use 1 1/4 inch strips, it'll cover the heart quicker. Now, if you use like if you decide you don't want random widths across your heart, you can choose a width. Like if you did all 3/4, you would end up with only 1/4 inch strips. So you'd have little 1/4 inch lines across. If you start with an inch strip, there'll be a 1/2 inch strip remains, and so on. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm going to bring this down a little bit farther because we got to get around the round of the top of the heart now. And I'm going to, I don't know what you would call that. The round of the heart. I don't know. I'm making up words as I go along. All right. And I'm going to try to use different fabrics all the way across this. And if you're not sure, just give it a test to see if you need to come down or go up to cover your piece. So hold it kind of where the 1/4 inch would be. And then if you fold it up, I'm kind of out of screen, sorry. Oh, that's awesome, Janet. I'm taking a step back from my family for a while because I think there's too many of us. And with my precarious situation, for anybody that doesn't know, I love my family dearly, but I was raised by my grandma, and I have a tense situation with my mother, my stepfather, and some of my siblings. So I'm taking a step back, and we're playing today. So let's go back to our heart here. We're going to, again, sew 1/4 inch from that strip edge. And you just keep repeating this until the heart is covered. I'm so close to the edge, I'm just sewing off on it now. All right, I've got a good bit of fabric left there, so let me get my leader ender piece. Put the needle down in the fabric. You never want to try to move and maneuver with your needle out of the fabric because it'll go completely awry on you and it won't be good. I'm not worrying about knotting anything or doing a locking stitch because all of these starts and ends will be caught in the seam of the 2 layers going together. Hi, Suze. All right, so again, finger press over. Don't worry about trimming to the edges of the heart just yet. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to turn it before I trim it because I don't want to fall short here. Sorry if I go quiet every once in a while. And if you're here and you're thinking you came to see a professional sewing lesson, you might want to like think again, because that's not what we got here. I just do my best. All right. Now this time I'm almost to the edge, so I won't be even going on this other side of the heart this time. We'll only have to sew up to the end of this round of the heart. And this piece will probably cover the rest of it. If it doesn't, we'll have to find us a narrow little piece to finish it off. So there's that one. And then I got this here. Let's find a short little piece here. This is a sweet little print. It's kind of hard to figure out which is the right side, but I think that is it right there. And I really don't need to pin this, but I want to show what to do in case you're not comfortable sewing just yet. If this is like one of your first sewing projects, it's always better to pin until you get used to how the fabric behaves under the needle. All right, stop with the needle in the machine. And on this old machine, to get your needle down into your fabric, you have to turn your wheel on the side toward you. Never ever push it toward the back, because that'll mess up the threads inside the machine. Okay, you always want to make it go in the direction it normally goes. All right, I'm going to turn this so that I'm stitching off from the edge. And then I'm going, oh, let's do it so it's a little bit farther this way. I'm going to go on to the next heart. And I wanted this to be kind of a quick little project, so I'm trying to stay focused. Greg should be out working on his car, but he's in his bed sleeping instead. So it's going to start raining soon. He should get up. But he's a grown man. I'm going to let him make his own decisions on that one. All right. So again, I'm going to do the same. Finger press it over. And then press it with the iron. And the reason to press it with the iron is to get it to lay down and to lock in your stitches, meaning you make your stitches almost become part of the fabric when you lock them in place. It just gives you, see how we're covering the heart? It locks them in position. Now, when you're not paper piecing, normally you would lock your stitches in position in this step where they're just flat. Then you would finger press. But because we have the paper there, we have a little bit of help. And I did get a quite wide enough piece to finish this one. So let's find something short real quick that I can just put at the top here. We'll use another little piece of this sweet floral. And I just have to go a short way. So I'm just going to just start sewing it. I'll get my leader ender again. Turn it. And by sewing onto another piece of fabric, wasting your thread, just cutting it up, big links off and throwing them in the trash. All right. All right. Okay, friends, now what we got to do is flip your heart around, and we're going to start covering the other end of here of the heart. And let's use some of the piece that we're going to use for our backing. I want to have a piece of that on the front. So I'm going to put some of that on here. and it's pillow ticking. I think I got another piece over here. It's a little bit narrower. I could probably chop that off and use it, but I've got this piece. Of course, it's really narrow. Let's chop that off. I've changed my mind. Remember to leave some tail over here so you have enough to cover the whole heart. All right, I'll put this on here. And here we go. All right. I'm so glad so many of you enjoyed the jelly plate conditioning videos. My plate is working so much better. Now the speedball plate that, you know, a lot of us got when it was on clearance at Hobby Lobby, I used inks on it yesterday when I was watching Mary. I said, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to use that because it's useless with paint. It's absolutely useless. The paper just sticks to it like glue. So I got the instructions out. Imagine that, reading the instructions. And it says to use speedball printing ink. Well, I had a variety of inks. I said, let's just play and see what makes it stick and what can I use on it that it will work. Well, I had a collection of Bombay inks and they didn't work. They stuck just as bad as the acrylic paints. So then I had Higgins inks, which are kind of like speedball inks. So they worked. So I had one speedball ink and 3 or 4 Higgins inks that I'd gotten thrifting one time, and those worked. And then, do y'all remember the inks we got from Brer Reese, and they have like a glitter in them? Those work okay if you use them in unison with a Higgins or a speedball. So play with what you got and don't go out and buy more if you don't have to. I just wanted to make sure, a lot of us were really disappointed in how that plate behaved. So I thought I would give you my input and what I found out. And I might do a video on the inks that worked. It says something on the printer. Might be Greg printing a recipe. I don't know what that is. He either needs more paper. All right. So you just keep going. Let's put some of this pink on here. This is pretty. Put a strip of that on there. And it's long enough. If I can get a piece on both of them, I'll just cut it in half. You just keep sewing your strips on. I'm getting my leader ender to be here. And I've quit using the pins because, it's how I roll sometimes. Just go rogue. And once you get used to doing it, the strip piecing is so easy. String piecing, not really strip piecing, it's strings. Because you're using your leftover bits. And it's basically string, sew, clip, iron, add another string, and go until you can't go no more. Or any more. however you want to say it. I'm going to move that out the way so I don't knock it on the floor and have to lean over to get it. Now, if you do these on square pieces of paper, you can actually make a quilt out of these and end up with shapes that look like diamonds, which I have a bunch of string pieced blocks that need to be made into a quilt. So I might have to lay it out. See, I like to lay it out and take a picture of it as it's laying out, and then start putting it together, because then if I get lost as I'm piecing the blocks together, I can pull my picture up and say, oh yeah, I remember. So we're just string piecing. Hey, I just saw Lucia pop in. This should be enough to finish off, but it might not. I might end up with a little tail hanging there. So I'm gonna actually lift this up and pull my leader ender out of my way so I can get in closer here to the heart. As long as you leave it attached, your needle won't come unthreaded. All right, need to do this one here. Let's see, I've used the polka dotted one. Here's a red piece. And again, as long as you're hooked, as long as your thread is hooked into that other fabric, you'll be okay. Come on. I'm going to turn it just a little bit to get me. There we go. No, don't fall in there. And get my leader ender off from over here. Turn it so off and onto here. I got a bunch of thread on the back of that one for some reason. The tail got caught from somewhere. All right, press it up. Oh, I'm getting so many. Judy 333 is saying the speedball plates work well intaglio paints. It isn't one I use for an everyday gel printing. So Intaglio paints. Never heard of them. So I'll have to look that up. Oh, there's Deborah Brown. Hi, Deborah Brown. So see, I didn't get enough to cover the heart, so I'm going to add another piece on here. I'll do that real quick. Let's see. I think, have I used this one already? Yeah, I've used that piece. Maybe this one will be big enough. It doesn't matter if it's got multicolored. It's red. That's all that matters. It's red. This still might not be wide enough to finish this heart off, but it'll be close. All right. So this one needs to be pressed over. Oh, and this one's covered, so I don't have to add any more to this heart. All right. So has everybody got their hearts covered in strips that's making one? I know if Mary's hand sewing, she probably doesn't just yet. But she'll get there, and she'll have the gist of how to do it. All right, so let me get my leader ender back off from here so I can sew over onto it. And I hope that that little red piece will be long enough to cover. All right. Now go ahead and tip it over. No, I'm going to have to add another tiny little piece to cover the tip of my heart. It doesn't have to be really, really, really big either. I think I've used just about everything. It doesn't have to be a big piece. So we'll cut this off from here. All right. Now, once you get, hang on. Once you get your heart completely covered with strips, what I want you to do is turn your hearts over, and I want you to sew from 1/4 inch from the edge of the heart inside. Okay? So I'm going to get started down here at the point. And what I'm doing is just sewing the edges of the strip onto the heart. When you get to the curves, stop with your needle in the fabric, lift your presser foot, and just turn just a tiny little bit to get you around the corner. Go a few stitches and then take the time to turn it just a little bit. Remember, always turn your wheel toward you to lock your needle in place. If you come up short of the 1/4 inch, don't worry about it. We're just kind of doing a stitch to hold all of the fabric pieces tight to the heart shape. This part's a bit on the fiddly side, but don't let that, stress you out or anything. It's nothing to get stressed out about. Just take your time. If that machine hangs up, just turn your wheel toward you a little bit. Until you learn your machine, you're going to have times where you make boo-boos, and that's what seam rippers are for. Now, I've had comments on previous sewing videos about, oh, I wish you wouldn't talk so much, or don't show all your mistakes. Well, if I don't show my mistakes, somebody's going to think that I'm flawless, which is not true, and that mistakes can't happen, because mistakes can happen even for someone that's been sewing since she was 9 years old. And if you want a professional, all of the oopsies removed and all, there are plenty of other channels for that. Just saying. All right, so I'm done with that. Going around that heart, I'm going to go around the next heart, and I'm just going to go from one tip to the next. And we'll put the needle down in the fabric, and I'm going to turn it just a little bit because I got started kind of wonky. There we go. That's better. Now, if you wanted to make this just a little ornament, you could do that. I'm going to cut this other heart free so that I'm not trying to turn this with the heart on there. But you could use a piece of batting cut to the heart shape and then add a ribbon at the top in the layers. Do y'all want me to show you how to do an ornament out of the same thing? Instead of stuffing both of them, we could make one an ornament that you could just hang. Would y'all like to see that? And that way we'll have two different little projects in one. Now, if you're making this big enough to go on your sofa, it's probably going to take you a while to get all the strips pieced on. I think a lot of people think strip piecing, you know, goes really quick and all, but it takes some time to sew individual strips on. Oh, let's sew over onto our frameless. Okay, take a break and see what you guys are saying. Susan, you're right. Don't listen to the ones that don't even make videos. Oh, we're talking food. Cheryl's made something that sounds good. Journey wants to see both. Okay, I'm going to do one as an ornament and one as the little pillow pincushion. All right, the next thing you need to do is I want you to trim your heart out with your scissors. Just don't cut the paper, just cut the fabric tails that are hanging off to match your pattern piece. And all these little bits can go in my bag to use as stuffing. So we're using scraps to do the piecing. You could use scraps to stuff it, which I think I will. I think instead of the polyfill. But if you want to use polyfill, feel free. I was just trying to think of some projects we could do with our scraps for whatever the holiday is upcoming. I'm not sure I want to do something shamrocky. I was trying to think, what can we do for St. Patrick's Day next month? I know, let's get through Valentine's first, but I'm always thinking ahead. All right, so there's that piece. And again, we've saved our back piece. Sorry, I'm getting croaky. So we've got our backing piece, our pieced piece. This one, I'm going to make the ornament simply because it's narrower. So I'll have to go get a piece of batting to do that. Let me get my coffee. Sip, sip. Last night was a fiasco that got us all out of wonk. So we forgot to put the vaporizer on. I'm going to set the ornament piece aside and we'll do it next. And we'll finish up our pincushion first. So let me get my bag of bits here. This is just batting bits. It's even got thread that I've cut off as I've been sewing. It all works for stuffing and it doesn't go to the landfill that way. So let's trim this off here. It's warm here by this iron. These gingers are very sharp. That little tip is very sharp. That's why I keep putting the cover back on it. I got these when I worked at Joann's, and they were a closeout because the design changed. The designer handles like this, they'll change out by season. So like spring, you'll have a pair of gingers with pretty springy looking handles. And I think these were an autumnal. So that's when I decided to get me a pair. All right. So now, before we start sewing the layers together, I'm going to take the paper off. And because this is sewn, it's perforated. So you should be able to just peel it off. So that's the fiddly bit. And now is when I can I can chat. Just carefully remove your paper. I'm just getting a 1/4-inch seam. I need a trash can for this. The gingers are they're lovely. I would recommend that if you want to get a pair, see if you can watch for a sale at like Joann's, because sometimes they put them on sale, and look for a set that comes with the sheath, because the gingers, can you see how sharp that point is right there? That is very sharp, and it'll cut you if you don't cover it up. But I love these for when I'm dressmaking. I have Fiskars to do quilty bits because most of the time it's just a straight cut with those. And I save my expensive scissors for like when I'm using high-end fabrics and that kind of stuff. You guys are going to be seeing some sewing videos from me because I'm getting back into sewing. I've got to use this fabric up, and I would like some new clothes, and I hate everything in the stores. It's all so shoddily made anymore, and a couple washings, and it's ready for the trash. And I'm just going to start making stuff with my old fabric that I've had a while because it's actually better than the new stuff. If you have trouble getting a hold to the paper at all, get your pokey tool, a seam ripper, a pin, or something to get the little bits that stick down in. Because this is a pincushion, you could technically, if you didn't want to deal with the paper, you could leave the paper. You would just hear it getting poked all the time when you stuck your pins in your pincushion. Now, if you guys decide to make some hearts, I would love to see them either in Phibbsville or in Aunt Beck's Creations or even on Instagram. I'm just trying to get the paper. You can also do that. Did y'all see what I just did? You could take your pen and run a line down the center of the piece. I'll show you again. You just take your pen and just go and make a hole, and then you can just lift it up and then pull away from where it's perforated, where the stitches are. If some of the stitches kind of pull loose along the edge, you don't have to worry about that because all of that's going to be caught in the seam. And some of the stitching that we put around the edge might show on the outside, but that makes it look more homemade. It makes it look more rustic. So don't worry about that. I'm just going to run my pin down the middle of each of these strips. Ow! I stabbed myself that time. That's not good. Did I make it bleed? It'll probably start bleeding when I'm pulling fabric off. That would suck. Anyway, there we go. Get your piece of paper loose. I'm glad we've got leftover beef soup for lunch. I made cornbread to go with it, homemade. Scott was in heaven because he loves cornbread, but his blood sugar does not love him for cornbread. Hi, Janet. Oh, Mary asked a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm glad Lucia is looking forward to it. Mary, I'm on. What is a good substitute for batting? Let's see. If you have some flannel, that would work. and you could layer up flannel. In fact, it could look really cool if you had several different colors of flannel and just do like your pieced heart and then 2 layers of flannel and then your backing heart and then just stitch around and leave it raw edged. To put your ribbon in to hang it, you would just insert it between the 2 layers of the felt, or not felt would work too, but I'm talking flannel. If you used flannel, that would give it a rustic look too. But fleece, polar fleece, like they make coats out of, you could use that as a layering if you want to make ornaments. This one got all wonky, but this is the back side. It's not going to matter. And if you don't have polyfill and you want to fill it, just use some of your scraps you have laying around. You know, chop them smaller so they're more like stuffing and put them in there. All right, this one's going to be our pincushion / pillow. So get your backing piece, put them right sides together, and pin them. Eva even said a couple layers of flannel. Yep. In a long time ago, they would use flannel in baby quilts because the quilt fleece was too heavy. All right. When I am piecing, actually, Gina turned me on to some things for these smaller projects. Let me see if you have these. I don't know if I have them where I can get to them. I mean, this one. Yes. Gina Aarons turned me on to these things. This way, if you use these, you don't get poked with the pins when you're sewing for small projects. This works good for small. Let's use these instead. They're just little clips, and she got them on Amazon, and I ordered myself some, and then I ordered myself some more. And I'm going to sew with the pieced bit up just to make sure I get everything. They're just little clips, like tiny little clothespins. And these work great for when you're working on a binding on a quilt. I love these things. When Gina showed these, I said, oh, I need some of those. So it's all Gina's fault. But I love them. All right, I'm going to leave an opening down on the straighter part. You don't want to try to sew around a curve and deal with stuffing. All right. And I like these because I don't get stabbed a half dozen times. See, and it's all clipped together. The cotton balls would work for stuffing, but in the case of the batting where we're going to do it as a layer to make an ornament, you wouldn't want anything loose like polyfill or bits or things like that. As long as it's something you're stuffing, cotton balls and things like that would be okay because you're going to hand stitch the opening closed. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to I messed it up. Let me see. There we go. I'm going to start where I would leave the opening here. And I'm going to go forward a little bit and then back to lock the stitches so that when I'm turning the heart right side out, I don't rip past where I want the opening to be. And my stitch length has been on 3, so I reduced it to 2 to get a better hold. The stitches will be closer together. And by doing this and having the pieced bit on the top, I can see that I'm going past the stay stitching I put in to hold the strips in place, so they won't be visible on the outside. For that matter, Mary, if your brother has any wore out flannel shirts, you could use bits of those to fill stuff. Sorry, you guys. We like I was saying earlier, we forgot the vaporizer last night, so I have a lot of congestion this morning. One more. Here we go. And these clips are so easy to move out the way. It's just a dream. The reason I'm stopping so much and turning, I'm working the top of the heart. And it's looking like I probably shouldn't have even worried about covering the last little bits in those couple of those areas, because they're getting lost in the seam allowance. But that's okay. It gives the machine something to grab onto. So I am going to stitch down and turn in the point, so I'm at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you're not used to sewing, you can also sew completely off the edge onto your salvage piece, and then turn everything, go across your salvage piece with your heart still attached, and then put the needle down, turn your salvage piece and the heart and line it up, and then start a 1/4 inch from the edge. That way, I still need to take another stitch. You can get a perfect corner on the end. All right. And I'm going to go backwards. And I hope I did that up there. I did. All right. I'm going to turn this and go ahead and sew over onto my leader ender piece. Now, before you start turning it to the right side, take your scissors. And the first thing you need to do is cut from the center of your heart to your stitches at the top up here. So just snip it. And then like every 1/4 inch, snip on the curve. On both sides. And what you're doing here is you are giving the fabric a little bit of a release so that your rounded areas will be able to turn. So do that on the other side as well. I can see where my stitching went a little crazy here and there. So about every 1/4 inch. And I do it until it's not round anymore. Down here on the point, you want to be careful. You don't want to cut through your stitching, but you want to just cut the point off like that. Just cut the tip off. Oops, sorry. See, I just snipped off the end without cutting through the stitching. You don't want to cut through your stitching or you'll have a hole. You leave just a little bit of fabric left there. And now we're going to turn it right side out. And I always try to go for the side that's farthest away from the hole and turn it kind of inside and then bring it across. And that makes the turning easier. And just keep pulling until you've got it right side out. Now I have a little gadget. Of course, I've got all the gadgets, you know, because I've been sewing since I was 9. But I've got a little gadget. But if you don't have the little bamboo pokey type thing, you can use a knitting needle that's a really sharp point. You don't want to use anything with a sharp point. Oh, there goes the FedEx man. Let's see. I'm going to have to walk all the way around. Or you can use your, that's something y'all might have. Use one of your burnishing tools. Y'all probably have one of these, a bone knife, but just use it to push the edges. Don't push so hard you push your seam out, or out through your seam. You just want to push until it's rounded. I'll do this other side too. I'm just kind of pushing to get the edges out. If you push too hard, you'll push right through it. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to stuff it, and I was just going to use my little bits from my past sewing. See, I've got all kinds of little strips and things in here. So I'm just going to use these to shove in here. I'm not trimming them smaller. I'm just trying to grab some of my smaller bits like this. That's what they used to do in the Great Depression, and nothing went to waste. Always stuff the smaller areas first. You're probably going to be able, because this isn't the fiber fill, you're going to, on the lighter colored fabrics, you'll be able to see that there's dark fabric stuff inside. I'm not too worried about that. I'm just saving the landfill from taking my scrappy bits. See, I saved all of these little bits here. Let's put some up in this other side of the heart here. I've even got the thread. I'm going to use the thread in here as well. And see, because I put stay stitching in there, I'm not going to lose the edge of the heart. If I didn't put stay stitching in there, my piecing could have probably, oh, I need to chop this, would come unstitched across. We don't want that. Just use all these scraps up. If you wanted a fancier heart, you could include strips of lace over the fabric. Like right here, we could have put a piece of lace. But I didn't think about that until just now. So we're going to go with what we started with. And I'm pressing it in until it's firm. And then after I get it full, I'll just fold these in along the stay stitching on the front here and kind of match up the same distance on the back, pin it, and then hand stitch it closed. And we will have yeah, use dryer sheets. I don't see why you couldn't use those for a stuffing too. Now the fabric doesn't give you a real squishy soft thing, but with a pincushion, you don't really want it squishy soft. You want it to have some firmness. At least I think you do. There's a bit of lace. We'll shove the lace in there. All right. I'm thinking that's going to need to be enough because I'm running out of room here. All right. Yeah, I think that's enough. All right, I'm going to fold this in the 1/4 inch on the backing fabric and the other fabric. Can you see how that's like a 1/4 inch on that side and a 1/4 inch on this side? Just pinch those two together. I'm going to put a couple pins in it. Of course, I could use one of my clips too, couldn't I? There we go. That might actually be better. That way I won't stab myself a half dozen times. There we go. I'm going to get a needle. Let's see. I think there's one in here. That's an embroidery needle, but you know what? It would work. I thought I had a hand sewing needle shoved in there. It's not like I have a shortage of needles. I have a whole box that's hand needles. I'll stick that in there. And then I think I'm just going to pull my starter ender out here. I didn't need to pull both of them, but that's okay. We'll put that back up under there. All right. This needle's got, it's an embroidery eye. I think I could see it. Here we go. Just got to get it in the right line. You want to make crazy quilt blocks? They're fun to do. It's like Liz, her helper, they were having to wrestle that thing to get it quilted. For me, I like to do crazy quilting on a smaller scale, like on a pillow or a wall hanging or something like that you could frame, because it's all that work and it's not really, sometimes it's not really made to go in the washing machine. All right, I'm just going to do a little closing stitch. I'll stick my knot down inside the opening. So I'm starting from in between them, which looks crazy, but that way I'm going to hide my knot and make it part of the stuffing. Oops, whoa. What I do is I'll take my needle. I'm on the backing side. Oops, I'm on the backing side over here. I've come out there. I'm just going to take a little teeny stitch on the piece side and come up through. And then I'll jump and I'll do about 1/8 of an inch stitch into the back and back out and go through. And then that just hides it. So the only thing you would visibly see, you'd have to really look hard for, is a single stitch across the opening. Just like a doctor stitches you closed. Now, if you want to add a little bit of character or whatever to it, you could put a button in the center of the heart and go all the way through to the back if you wanted to. I'm going to move this out my way. So just a tiny little stitch in there. That's why hand sewing is supposed to take time, because you want to do a neat job. I'll look at chat once I get this stitched up before we move on to the ornament. And I think we're going to cheat on the ornament and have it look more rustic. I still need to do my 52 tags tag. I need to do the cross the kiss on tag that she did. I haven't done mine for this week yet. That's Ann. No, I can't remember Ann's last name now. Brooks. Ann Brooks. She's doing 52 tags. 1 tag a week. And they're slow stitched. And silly me, I'm doing a lot bigger tags. So everything takes 3 times longer than it really should. She's doing like these tiny tags. I think they're the size of a ATC card, the whole tag. Which every time I have to do mine, I think, I should have followed instructions and just made them the ATC size. But I'm using tags I had on hand. But I'm not going to have enough for the 52 weeks, but I'm going to save one of the tags as a pattern and just cut some more tags by hand using just some craft cardstock that I already have on hand. Oops, went too far. I'm just trying to take a tiny little stitch. Am I done? Did I get all the way across? Not quite. Hang on. Still have a couple more stitches to do. I think I've reached the end. It's not wanting to go through right there. I don't know why it's not wanting to go through. I must be at a heavy seam. All right. So now to tie a knot, you just stick it down through the fabric and come back out. Take your tail of your thread and wrap it around the needle 3 times, 2, 3. Pull it down close to the fabric and then kind of hold it in place and pull the needle through, and you've tied a knot. And then I just hide it down in. You just go into the fabric and come out somewhere away from it and pull that tight. And then when you've got it pulled tight, and then when you snip it, it disappears down in and you never see it again. So that's how to make a little heart pillow. Okay. So now we wanted to do the a heart ornament. Now this, you could make this an ornament too. Simply when you are putting your 2 pieces together to sew around them, I'm just going to hold this as an example. All right, so we've got, say these are together to sew. Between them, you'll make a loop of ribbon. Let me get a piece of ribbon here real quick. Ribbon, 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 ribbon. I needed to stand up anyway. My hips have locked up. That's crazy. I'm trying to use dull scissors over here. All right. So if you want to make an ornament and kind of be the pillow shape like this, when you put your layers together, take and make a loop of ribbon, just a loop. And then between your layers, right here at the top of the heart, just pin this in place right there. Leave some tails so you can see where it is. And then put this on top and stick a pin through it. Okay, so the loop is between the layers, and you might have to like tuck that up in so that you don't accidentally sew it down. And then go ahead and do your stitching around. Then when you turn it right side out, the loop is there. So you could hang it. We can't hang this one. This one will have to be a pincushion. But let's do a kind of a rustic ornament. I got to remove all this paper. I can look at chat while I remove paper. Now I have felt back there. I can go get some felt and we can make it with felt in between. I can get some red and some, I think I've got red and white. So if you guys have any questions, now's a good time to ask because I'm looking. And I'm just pulling the paper like I did before. Just pulling the paper off. All right. So I'm going to be off screen. I'll put this where you guys can see it. All right. So let me see. Oh, dear. No selling allowed. Not even if you're recommending a product? To me, that's weird. You can recommend it in here, can't you, though? Or share the link to get them. They're pretty cool. Oh, that sounds cool too, Susan. She's saying she made bath mat out of old t-shirts. Real squishy to stand on. Is there a way to shorten the URL address? If you do a Google search for shorten a link, you'll get several options, Janet. And you can put the shortened URL that they give you in. I can't remember the name of some of them. But if you just ask Google if you can get an address shortener. For some reason, my machine went out of tension on that strip. It's kind of wonky, but it's not like this is going to be something that's used constantly. By putting these little hanger on them, you could also just hang them on a neighbor's door to let them know you're thinking of them during this time when we can't get together. I might hang it on my mother-in-law's door. I just realized I'm like up in chat. You guys have probably been asking. Oh, Kathy had to go. Bye, Kathy. All right. I didn't miss too much. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I'm removing paper. Give me a minute. Getting the paper off is the fiddly bits. It's like when you do English paper piecing and you get the quilt all together and then you got to go back in and remove all those papers. Luckily with that though, they usually just pop right out because you don't sew through those. You fold the fabric around it and then stitch just in the fabric, not through the paper. With the string piecing, when you sew through the paper, it's stabilizing the fabric as well. So if some of your pieces are a little wonky bias, they don't warp all as bad as if you were trying to string piece with no stability underneath. I've also seen string piecing done on muslin as your base, and that gives it stability. You just have to square up your squares when you're done. Like we cut this heart out. All right. Let me go grab a couple pieces of felt. I know exactly where they are. I say that, and then they won't be where I think they are. Well, it appears I have put it up so good, I don't know where my felt is right now. But I know where my batting is. Got a piece of batting here. So I can't show you felt, but it's the same process. I've just got this piece of batting, and I'm just going to lay my my back fabric on here and cut around it. Use some pins to hold this on here. All right. I could have swore I put that batting, the felt in one of the black totes. But I can't find it. I've looked in the two places I thought it would be. All right. So that'll go in my bag of offcuts to use as filler on another project. Okay. So now what I would do, I just use the back as the pattern. You don't have to. You could use the front, but whatever. So what you can do is take your pieced heart, your batting, put the batting behind the piece block. Now, if you want to enclose this, and have the edges enclosed and everything, again, you'd put your loop here, and I'm just going to pin it. To hold that there. And if you wanted to, you could take, for right now, and you could put a pin just to hold your ribbon in the middle here. You just got to keep in mind that that pin's in there, and when you go to turn it right side out, you need to reach in and get this pin out first before you try to start manipulating it, or you're going to hurt yourself. Then you take this piece and put it right sides to this. So your layer looks like backing fabric, ribbon, front fabric, batting. And then you would sew around like we did the pillow. And I would start, so your opening's on this side so you can get to the head of that pin that's in the middle. You would stitch around the outer edge, just like we did the pillow. Get your pin out of the middle, turn it right side out, and you'd have an enclosed, the batting will flip to the inside because it's in between, it's on the back of here. It'll be on the inside of the ornament. That's if you want an enclosed edge. If you want a more rustic look, just do your layers like that, except take and go ahead and put your ribbon the other way and put it down here like this. This is if you want a more rustic look. And what I would do is I would put it between the batting and the pieced piece. And I'd go ahead and pin that. We're going to do the rustic look. And then layer your backing fabric so the right side is laying down, because we're not going to turn it. We're just going to leave it kind of rough and rustic. And then put your pins or use your clips or whatever you want to do. Since we're going to leave it kind of rustic. And imagine if you were using the flannel or the felt instead of the batting, you would still layer it in between the pieces. Does that make sense to you guys? All right. Now, if you wanted to do something like add lace or some embellishment stitches, I would do that maybe just through the pieced bit and the batting, like put them together and stitch through. That way you've got a little bit more stability for your hand stitching with the batting or the flannel or the felt, whatever you use in between here. And then you can cover it with the backing so you don't have to see the back of your stitching. I'm using that heirloom cotton batting is what I've got. I don't like polyester batting. I just don't. I don't like it at all. I think it's just, I don't like it. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this around. I'm not going to have to worry about clipping any corners or anything. That's another thing. If you do it the other way, remember to clip your curves and cut the tip off so that you can get a nice heart shape when you turn it right side out. If you don't do that clipping, it won't turn. It'll pull at your stitches. You've got to give that fabric some way to get rid of its tension. And now on this one, we could sew a button in the middle right there. That would be cute. So let's stitch this on here. I've got pink thread in here. It's what I've been using. I might change and do a zigzag stitch since this is going to be visible on the outside. So when you switch to a new stitch on an older machine like this, you need to make sure your needle is out of the fabric. And this has all these cams and stuff that I'm supposed to be able to insert and do all these decorative stitches. I've never been able to get it to work. I'm going to try again to see if I can do it. But I'm going to release the tension on my zigzag width, and I'm going to give it a zigzag of like 4. And I might come down on my stitch width to like a 1.5. All right, I'm going to start stitching on my selvage piece just to see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I like that. All right, I'm going to lift the presser foot and slide my heart under. Oh, it's wanting to catch. Come on. Get my pincushion up here where I can poke pins into it. Going around the curve, so I stop with the needle in and turn it slightly. When you get to where the little string is sticking out, I would suggest doing a couple reverse stitches on it. All right. Might trim off that piece of fabric there. There's a little ornament. So like I said, you can, if you wanted to, you could pink your edges now. We can do that real quick. I don't want to keep you guys all day on your Saturday. So I'm going to pink it around here. Don't cut through your stitches. I just want to get a little bit of an edge here and there. And don't cut your hanger off, or it'll be kind of pointless to have put it on there, huh? All right, there you go. And I trimmed it with just pinking shears. And that'll make it kind of fluffy. If you used flannel instead of the batting, you use several layers, you'd get different colors along the edge. Time of the year ornament. And like I said, you could add lace to it in strips, either as you're piecing it or, after. So there's our projects. A little heart pincushion, whatever. I might sew go through my stash, see if I can find a heart button to just sew in the middle. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've been on almost 2 hours. That's a lot longer than I thought I was going to be on, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it and that I gave you a little bit of a break. And I will talk to you guys later.
Stash? What is the stash you speak of?
Peanut Gallery's here. Everybody want to say hi, Scott?
Hi, Scott. Stash? What is the stash you speak of?
He knows I have a stash, and he came to a realization cleaning the garage that he has a stash as well. Yeah.
I hope everybody had a lot of fun. So.
There we go. All right, guys. They're saying hi, Scott.
Hey, everybody.
We're off to do something. I don't know what. Heat up soup. Oh, we're going to go to Barnes & Noble. Yay! Whoop, whoop. Mask time. Y'all take care. Y'all have fun. Bye. Howard said bye.
Howard, buddy, are you